certified in our city. Paramedics continued critical advanced life support. We transferred the care of that patient to Mercy Air flight crew. Flight nurse and paramedic continued the care, and the patient was transferred to an area trauma center. I want to share with you the outcome of that. Patient had severe intrathoracic bleed, head injury, flailed chest, lacerated spleen. Patient was delivered to the trauma center and was in surgery for 6 hours in the trauma center. She received 19 units of blood. This patient had 5% chance of survival. I'm pleased to report this patient survived. And it's a direct result of a coordinated system coming together, all elements of that, including our air transport. I thought that was relevant given the discussions that you have before you and the important decision you'll be making tonight. I want to talk briefly to the ground transport versus air transport. This does not minimize the importance of AMR. They're an equal, important, critical element of that. This is adding another element at no cost to our city, which is important. And with that, I'll be open for any questions you might have.
Council have questions?
Yes, thank you for that report, and also for the recent incident that we used Mercy Air. Currently, where is the helicopter located at Hemet Ryan right now?
The helicopter rents a space from Hemet Ryan at the Hemet Ryan Airport, right adjacent to the CAL FIRE air tanker base. The crew is physically located at Fire Station 4.
So in a request for that service, the crew currently has to go from quarters if they're at Station 4, and they go to the helipad.
That's correct.
And so they have to drive a vehicle from quarters there?
They have a transport van that's there to take the crew. They have a crew of three, a pilot, flight nurse, and a flight paramedic. They get into the van and they drive over to the airport, and they spool up. They take an average. Last year we did some time studies, about 22 minutes from the time that they actually get activated, get in the van, go to the airport, activate the helicopter, and get ready to lift off. This past 6 months they've been doing time studies, and we've got that. I say we because our firefighters have been training with Mercy, an average of a 14-minute response time from the base to the airport. We believe by co-locating the landing pad at the fire station, we'll be able to reduce that even further to a 5 to 8 minute response time. The timing of that response time is absolutely critical. From the time that we make the request to the time they process it to the time the crew gets to the helicopter, they spool up and they go airborne, is the most critical piece that we need to do everything we can to reduce the impact of that time frame.
Well, thank you for that information, because you mentioned earlier about the golden hour of survivability, and obviously in severe trauma cases in combat in the Middle East, we've seen demonstrative survivability within that golden hour. So I would think that it only makes good sense to locate that helispot as close to Station 4 as possible, because you're going to probably buy back 10 minutes of that golden hour just in shortening that delivery time to the helicopter from Station 4. So.
And to be frank, Mayor Pro Tem, not only does it benefit the citizens, but as the police chief and myself both worry about our troops. So if, God forbid, we have a police officer or firefighter that's injured and we need to get to a burn center or a trauma center, we have rapid medevac there to take care of our personnel. But it'll benefit not only our city, but the entire region.
Anything that we can do to shorten response time is a positive thing for everybody. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments from council? I have some questions. How much have they been paying us a month already?
$37.50.
And we're just going to keep it the
Yes.
same?
We evaluated that. We're actually competing with RDA, who manages the airport. We've been in constant contact with them. They were being courted, if you will, to come over to the airport. we made a good, strong argument that we'd like to continue the partnership under our wing and work together. I think we have a fabulous facility at Fire Station 4, as you know, and it really, there's some real important synergy with keeping them together with us.
I love the, I love the partnership that we have, and I think that keeping this is great. I do have another question about, well, is this, so what we're approving is just to re-up like their sleeping quarters?
The crew quarters, yes. So if you look, you've been to Forest, everybody's been to Fire Station 4, they have 4 rooms, and they were excess capacity that weren't being used. They occupy 3 of those rooms, flight nurse, flight paramedic, and flight nurse, pilot, excuse me. And the 4th room is a storage area. And they're off to the south, the very southern portion of the building. There is a separation from our crews. They share meals together. They've helped purchase recently a very large table. There's good synergy between the crews, our firefighters and the Mercy crews. So it's really been a very positive experience for us.
So for the 3750 that we're approving, I don't know. I mean, I think of it like, I just compare it. If there's 3 of them, that's like equivalent to one of our other fire stations, like say like 2 or 5 has 3 people there. And so, and maybe this is a question for Public Works, but is 3750, going to cover utilities for 3 people and,
Well, I think Station 4 happens to be the highest user of utilities here in our city. So future discussions, I have not had this with our city manager, but my understanding is that station was built for solar. So there may be some policy-related discussions to looking at that allocation we get and applying it to solar. So that certainly would offset the cost and reduce it. But what you're looking at tonight is that
I'm just like, you know what I mean? If
Yeah,
it's been
brainstorm.
since 2010, I just want to make sure that we're getting our right amount of money. The other thing is the 3750. Now, you said that that's just for the sleeping quarters, and if you read the contract, it actually says it's for a helipad on our property.
What it breaks it
Sign
down.
this.
It doesn't. What it says in the contract is that the landlord will provide a space for. They call it a helicopter parking lot or parking place. So on the contract, there is an addendum. You see an attachment that shows the footprint of the station and the vacant land, and an X, which is a proposed landing zone location. That parcel is set to be a training center at some point in the future. This past year, we have met with Heliplanners, who is their contractor to do the build. They will build that at their cost, no cost to us. It'll be a long-term arrangement, so if and when they decide to walk away, which I have no indicators from that, they want to establish a long-term relationship, we have that asset there. And that landing zone is critical, whoever the vendor is, because right now they're limited at Hemet Ryan if the air tankers are active. It impacts their ability for rapid dispatch out of there. So we get an asset at the end of the journey, their cost, not ours.
I guess my biggest question is at 3750, if we sign this, we're going to do another infamous City of Hemet land giveaway, essentially, because we're not going to charge them more if they're going to use it as a helipad?
Well, we're looking at the mutual benefit discussion. The discussion for the helipad is what you're approving tonight is going to be for the crew quarters. Part of this will involve, on a go-forward, is to continue the discussions that were put on hold in April and bring that back to the table so we can look at where we can
But you
best
say that,
accommodate
but
that.
the contract in here actually says that it includes this space.
We're to provide a location physically that they can put the landing pad.
This looks like if we sign it, if we read the contract, I mean, let me just pull up that section, I guess. Let's find this page. It also says that they'll just, they have to take away everything, right? That when they leave.
other than the helicopter and the flight, the physical presence of the flight crew, there's really, the asset would be the landing pad that they build. They walk away from that, so that's an asset that we maintain and will continue to.
This has landlord obligations. That would be the city of Hemet.
Right.
Landlord shall furnish at landlord's cost all utilities necessary for the property, electricity, heating, air, etc. 5.2, helicopter parking area. Landlord shall provide an area for the property as depicted in this agreement for the tenant to construct a helicopter parking area for the tenant's sole and exclusive use. So if we're voting on it tonight, that's what we're voting on. And it's fine. I have no problems with us using it for that. But I mean, I know that I'm always the one harping on getting bids, but are we getting our best? I know we already have a partnership with them, but this is still city land too. I mean, how much are they paying at Ryan to keep their helicopter over there?
I don't have their dollar amount, but what I would counter for consideration is we're providing them a spot. They're going to physically build and incur the cost of the construction of that asset for us.
I mean, they are a for-profit company, and
Right.
we are going to give them free rent, essentially, because we're going to let them pay for their living quarters, and then they're going to have free helicopter space.
That pad estimate is about $850,000
That is their choice, but it's still
It
our land.
absolutely is, yes.
And so we're not getting any money for renting our land or using it as a helicopter pad.
That's for your consideration. What I want to make sure that the understanding is we're providing a space so they can build something that will have value to the mission. That's what you've asked me to look at.
I would definitely like to know. Well, I didn't ask you, but
Well, in general.
right.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. I mean, I guess I'd like to know how much they're paying at Hemet. They're going Hemet Ryan. They're going to save a lot of money.
Council have any other comments or questions? If I could have a motion, please?
Move approval.
Wait. Public comment.
Okay.
Thank you. Is there anybody from the public wanting to speak on this item? Hearing none?
Move approval of the staff recommendation.
Please vote.
Thank you.
Passes 4-1. Next item, item 22, recommendation by Information Technology. Scott?
Yes. Good evening, Mayor and Mayor Pro Tem and Council. In front of you tonight is a request to renew our Microsoft Enterprise licensing agreement. The city has utilized this agreement for the past 6 years. Our current 3-year agreement expired November 30th, 2018. The request in front of you will extend our agreement for another 3 years. This agreement provides Microsoft licensing for desktops, laptops, servers, and applications such as Word, Excel, PowerPoint used throughout the city. New in this agreement is a move to Microsoft Office 365 U.S. government licensing. This will allow us to move our existing email system to the Microsoft Government Community Cloud, which complies with the federal requirements for cloud services such as Criminal Justice Information Services, or CJIS. And that's a really important piece for the police department. This move follows the IT department's strategy to utilize cloud services where they can make sense and provide value to the city. In this instance, the city gains increased reliability and availability by moving these services to the cloud. As more of our workforce adopts mobile technology, Office 365 U.S. Government ensures access to mail and files from anywhere. This purchase request is based on the competitive bid County of Riverside Microsoft Enterprise Agreement. The County of Riverside found Insight Public Sector, the people that would be actually buying this from, to be the lowest responsible bidder. And with that, I am open to any questions you might have.
Any questions from council?
I'm going to ask the obvious one. How secure is the cloud?
This is government cloud, so it's not.
Which means it's not.
Yeah, yes.
That answers that question.
It is more secure than the normal. There are different data centers that actually Microsoft hosts this type of data in. There's the public one where everybody and their brother is going to be hosted, and that is actually broken up, and it can be in different segments of the world. It's not specifically just in the United States. With the government cloud, that one actually is located in specific areas and regions within the United States only. What we are in, where we be hosted, it would be U.S. Territories, tribal governments, state, local, federal, and they also at the same location also host GCC High, which is the same storage capabilities, but for the Department of Defense. So we're hosted along with their data as well.
Okay. Go ahead, somebody else.
By switching to this cloud-based, how much is that going to save the city?
There will be no savings. Actually, the cost is increasing. The cost is increasing $68,000 a year. The issue that we currently have is we're limited in staffing. So by doing this, we actually can free up additional people to do other things and not have to worry about this email environment. Other big thing that we have with the email environment, obviously, is it's dependent upon so much that it has to be available and reliable if there's a disaster here in Hemet, in the state or wherever. And when we push this stuff out to the cloud, then if we lose connectivity at City Hall, if anything were to happen to a city facility or our connection to the internet, we would still be able to access the system through your cell phones, through satellite connections and things that the city has.
Let me rephrase my question. So I understand that there's an direct cost increase, but overall, what's the savings to the city? Because there's going to be, you just mentioned a couple, you're going to be able to redirect staff to do other things, so that's a cost savings.
Certainly. So there's obviously the savings that is involved with staffing. There is also additional savings that we're going to be able to achieve by having this environment, because it also allows us to store files, not just email, but files that we have. Obviously with the police department, just picking on them kind of as the heaviest user of our network, they have a lot of files of video and photos and audio recordings. And we are always challenged by trying to find places and environments to be able to store that and also back that up. With this, we leverage this environment. We don't have to purchase as much hardware as far as storage and backup storage.
That's what I was getting at.
So that helps us to kind of leverage that. It also, in the event we do have a natural disaster or something like that, those files are available. And really, with the move to iPads, MDCs that the guys have in the field for the police and fire, even the council with laptops and cell phones, it's always a challenge to get the data that you need on that device. And with this, we could actually utilize that system to be able to push those files to you and have you have access to them wherever you're at.
City Manager, do you have any comment to make on this? Brad?
I'm going to date myself a little bit and ask this question. Will we still need to have servers on site, or will everything migrate to the government cloud?
That would be fantastic if it could, but we still will require servers on site. There will be servers that will actually pull that email back and forth. We just won't be storing the majority of that email, calendaring items and things like that here on site.
And of course, if there was a problem where there's a hardware failure, having access through the cloud, we'd still be able to access the files and data that we need.
Absolutely. So, and that's one of the other reasons a lot of cities and government agencies decide to push this out, is just because we wind up getting encryption in advance. We get the big virus that everybody clicks on and their computer gets, meltdown status, and all those files are gone. With this out in the cloud, it's one less thing that we're having to worry about that happening to.
Thank you.
And how soon does it become obsolete?
And that's actually one of the nice parts. With Microsoft hosting it, they're responsible for keeping that up.
Okay. We have a motion.
Second?
Please vote. And that passes 5-0. Thank you, Scott. Next item, item number 23, Caltrain's November 26th meeting on Florida Avenue median. This is for you, Marie.
I'm passing out an email that I'll reference shortly that relates to this. I'm just going to read this. There was a turnover at the top management at Caltrans, both in Sacramento and District 8 back in February. We were never informed of that. And the individuals with whom we were working on the proposed raise meeting on Florida Avenue were replaced. Accordingly, with the assistance of Assemblyman Chad Mays and lobbyist Jason Gonzalez, the meeting was held with the new staff on Monday, November 26th at District 8 headquarters in San Bernardino. In attendance were Janice Benton, the new District 8 director, and her staff. Joining us on Skype were Chief Deputy Director Ryan Chamberlain and his staff. Assemblyman Mays also attended, and representing the city were former Mayor Percival, former Mayor Pro Tem Meyer, Chief of Police Webb, contract engineers Sudi Soja, and myself. There was no agenda, but the discussion centered on the Florida Median project, Caltrans' decision to move forward on the bidding of the project, and the city's strong objections to the project. Those objections focus on the lack of environmental and traffic studies, the loss of businesses and sales tax in the city hampered by lack of a freeway and thus no big box, freeway-oriented sales generators, no rail, and thus no opportunities to participate in the logistics industry, and the city's demographics, which had not been taken into consideration as they are required to do. Caltrans' response, particularly from Deputy Director, was that they are staying the course and that they are responding to a safety issue, notwithstanding the fact that their data was dated. Chief Webb responded that the proposed median would only exacerbate the safety issues, which Sudi's engineering study underscored. Deputy Director Chamberlain stated, nonetheless, that Caltrans hoped this would be a partnership with the city. Very little time was spent considering the city's takeover of Florida Avenue. It was summarily dismissed, stating the city couldn't afford to do so, and no one from Caltrans suggested a partnership to assist the city should the city want to assume ownership of the street. Section 374 of the California Streets and Highway Code states, quote, the Commission, this is the California Transportation Commission, which has oversight over Caltrans, may relinquish to the City of Hemet the portion of Route 74 that is located within the city limits of the City of Hemet upon terms and conditions the Commission finds to be in the best interest of the state, if the Department and the City of Hemet enter into an agreement providing for the relinquishment. Former Mayor Percival is seeking permission from the council to request that the Transportation Commission instruct Caltrans to do exactly that. Negotiate an agreement with the city that relinquishes Route 74 to the city with the conditions that, one, the city receives adequate compensation to reconstruct the highway. It hasn't been adequately maintained for years. And two, that the city receive annually sufficient funds to maintain the highway. There was a gentleman named Catalino, Pine III, who introduced himself to me as the project manager. And so I sent him an email and asked him for his schedule. We've just heard lots of things regarding where they were in their bidding process, etc. So this schedule serves, and if it states, and I've underlined it in yellow, that they awarded the project on November 21st. If that's an accurate statement, our meeting was on November 26th. They had already awarded the project when they met with us. Now, if that isn't duplicitous, I'm not sure what is. So nonetheless, I still stand by, this would be my recommendation also, that we seek to take over, and based on other agreements that other cities have done, they have been given money up front and annual maintenance for it. So I think they ought to be forced to sit down at the table with us and see if we can consummate an agreement based on Mayor Percival's suggestion. And so we would like council's agreement,
Certainly
direction.
suggest our city attorney be a part of all that.
Yeah, we'll pursue that. Any questions?
Long overdue.
Okay, you council
So-
motion to direct us to do that.
Do I just start that motion?
Well, it is a public,
Oh, that's right. Oh, my God. I really love the public. I don't know why I keep eliminating you. Is there anybody here from the public that would like to speak on this item? You know, I guess it's because I'm not used to so many discussion items. Most of these are on consent calendar. This one, of course, wouldn't be, but holy smoke.
Hey, Bonnie. Is this about the median?
It
The
is.
one that we all hate, don't want to see?
Just
It's
keep
going to
your
kill.
name, just tell your name for the
Oh,
record.
Pleasant. It's going to kill business downtown. I hate the fact that our downtown is already suffering. This is just going to make it more complicated. I don't see any reason that we should allow it. There's a whole bunch of us out there talking against it. I know I read in the newspaper that some of you are opposed to it, and I appreciate that. So yeah, meet with those guys and tell them what's what. You know, we'll negotiate as best we can to take control of it. No media.
That's right, thank you. Ms. McDonald?
I wasn't prepared because I didn't know what this report was going to say. It sounds as if Caltrans has gone ahead totally ignoring what we have said, the facts that we have put forth. And I think at this point, we need to go back to the legislature and say, hey, look what one of your state departments are trying to do to our city. And what are you going to do to help us stop it? So that's my thought, my recommendation.
Thank you. Does anyone else wish to speak on this item? Hearing none? Oh, we have another one. Rusty Straight. Be gentle.
My name is Ray Strait, and I'm with the Chronicle. What I'd like to know is, if this relinquishing agreement should happen, are they still forcing down our throat the median? Does that go with it, or can you get rid of it if they relinquish it to the city?
Once it becomes ours, we can just decide, we're not gonna put a median in.
Well, what if they put it, can they put it in before you decide?
They'd have to move pretty fast,
They
we'll
move
see
fast
how
already,
fast, we'll see
they
how
got
fast.
ahead of you on it.
We'll see how fast we can move and get our meeting with the traffic commission.
All right, that's my question.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak on this item? Seeing none? May I have a motion? Oh, does council have anything to say yet?
I do.
Okay.
One of the things that I've continually been concerned about this, that's lacking in this discussion, that they seem to have turned a deaf ear to a much more viable and cost-effective alternative. They keep saying it's a safety project, and safety can be addressed through enforcement. You know, I could ask the chief to chime in if he wants, but basically, and Chief and Sudi would agree that there's 3 E's to traffic safety. And there's engineering, and there's education, and there's enforcement. And they're focusing on the engineering part, and they're ignoring the education and the enforcement component. So I think I would really like to see us emphasize that and use by way of example the results that were achieved when we contracted for CHP for additional Florida Avenue enforcement. Those statistics speak for themselves. And if their concern is truly about safety and enhancing safety, they're missing the boat. I think that my interpretation is that they got this grant and they're going to spend it come hell or high water without any regard to the impact on our community. So again, I'd really like to see us focus heavily on what can be achieved through strategic traffic enforcement, because I know it can make the difference. And just one other comment, if they're really so concerned about traffic safety, I'm really wondering why they've completely ignored one section of their highway on the west end of our city. I know that there's been, just since I've lived here, at least 8 fatalities that were the result of head-on collisions that could have been prevented if they had just put some K-rail down the middle of that divider. A raised center median is not going to stop an oncoming car from crossing over. So I would ask Caltrans, why did they put the divider through the highway on Lamb Canyon? It's exactly to prevent head-on collisions. So, you know, follow some consistent application if they're concerned with safety.
Any other comments?
All right, I would like to make a motion
We'd love to have you make a
that
motion.
we direct staff to work with staff for the Traffic Commission to come up with an agreement that would be beneficial to the city to take over Florida Avenue.
I'll second that.
Please vote. And that passes 5-0. Thank you. Thanks, Mike. Okay, before we go into city council reports, we have Mr. Randon Lane here that would like to speak from the gas company, or, yeah. Okay.
Good evening. I know that I just want to say thank.
You're passing something out here. Is this?
Yes, ma'am. No, this is for you to look at
Okay.
later. I wanted to say congratulations on your re-elections and congratulations, Madam Mayor and Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you.
My name is Randon Lane. I'm the Public Affairs Manager for SoCal Gas here in the Southern Region. As you may know, SoCal Gas distributes natural gas to the residents of Hemet, allowing your residents to heat their homes, have hot water, cook meals, dry clothes, and some residents may also use natural gas for a fireplace, barbecue, hot tub, pool, or heater. The employers in your city also rely on natural gas to cook meals at restaurants, pump water, and in many industrial applications. Natural gas is affordable, abundant, and the energy source choice in homes and businesses for the many purposes I just stated. It is part of a balanced energy portfolio you and your constituents enjoy. I'm here tonight to raise your awareness of an ongoing issue in California. The state legislature wants to electrify everything. A proposal which did not pass the legislature this year would have required all new buildings built after 2022 to be all electric and would have required existing buildings to be retrofitted to be all electric. While this proposal did not pass, you can be assured that more similar proposals will be coming. Think about how much you pay for electricity to cool your home in the summer and how relatively little you pay for natural gas to heat your home in the winter. Imagine paying those high electric bills year-round because you are forced to heat with electricity, cook with electricity, and do everything else you now do with natural gas with electricity. The proposals to force you to electrify your home are being made in the name of global warming, reducing greenhouse gas, carbon emissions, and other environmental goals. And while these goals are admirable, a cost-benefit analysis just can't justify such drastic actions. And every homeowner and business owner in Hemet and throughout California are the ones who are going to pay. Let me be clear, SoCal Gas does not oppose electrification. If you want to use electric appliances in your home, that's your choice. But don't take away the choice from those who want to use other fuel sources. The fact is, virtually every home in Hemet already has electricity and natural gas. This is balance. I'm here alerting you that this balance is being threatened, and with it, the economic stability of families and businesses could be threatened as well. By forcing homeowners to replace their natural gas appliances, their furnace, stove, water heater, dryer, and more, the average cost to retrofit a home in California is $7,200 per home, plus the cost of electricity on top of that. There is an alternative. Biogas, or renewable natural gas, is natural gas which comes from organic sources. Earlier this year, SoCal Gas began accepting the first renewable natural gas into our system from a solid waste and recycling company in Riverside County. If just 16% of the gas we deliver to customers comes from renewable sources, it will have the same effect on greenhouse gas emissions as electrifying all of California at a much lower cost to everyone. With a balanced approach, we can achieve goals, preserve choice, and minimize disruption and cost. The point is, you shouldn't have to choose between what some decision makers in California believe is right for the environment and the reality of what families can afford. And with a balanced energy approach, you don't have to. The bills that we will see this coming year are ones that will be detrimental to families who are barely having enough time paying for their bills right now in electrifying California. While we, as I stated, are not opposed to electrification, we believe that there should be a balance. And so what we're asking for you at this time is to continue your support in what you've shown in the past of making sure that balanced energy approach is beneficial to your residents, and that you would use me as a guide to answer questions, to make sure that you know exactly what's affecting your constituents when it comes to electrification in the state of California. And with that, I greatly appreciate you taking the time to listen to me. Thank you very much, Madam Mayor, for the opportunity to speak. Thank you very much, and have a great evening.
That will move on to City Council reports. Councilmember Brown.
Thank you, Mayor. I attended the Water Master Board meeting on November 26th as the alternate, so I didn't have to participate in the discussion, but it's always helpful to be there for the learning experience just because of the complexity of the Water Master agreement. Disaster Planning Commission, there's nothing specific to report. I'll be scheduling a meeting in January with the fire chief and our emergency services coordinator to start brainstorming some ideas on how we can resurrect that commission. And Western Community Energy Board meets tomorrow. Unfortunately, that conflicts with another obligation at my homeowners association that I'll not be able to attend. So maybe we can get a representative there.
He's looking at me.
Yeah. This past week has been pretty busy. We had a number of very fun events that I was able to attend and participate in. Like all of us, we participated in the annual Hemet Christmas Parade, and we were very fortunate. We had a Chamber of Commerce Day, weather-wise, and from my perspective, it's only the second time I've been in the parade, but a much bigger crowd than last year. So I thought it went off very well. Also attended the Golden Era Christmas party that they hosted, and the fundraiser pancake breakfast for Ramona Bowl, and attended the Chamber Holiday Mixer, and also the Veterans Party hosted by American Legion Post 53, which is for veterans, their children, and their grandchildren. And that was a huge success, very positive, and a lot of smiling, ear-to-ear smiles on kids' faces as they went up to the table and took their turn selecting their prize. Chief, you'll be happy to know that one young man that was the most pleased, he went up and picked up a Tonka fire truck. He spotted that when he came in, so I'll try to get his name for future recruitment. And I think that's, and obviously the Tinsel Triathlon was a huge event, another Chamber of Commerce Day, and a very well attended event, and very well organized.
And Chief Dave Brown came in number 1 in the 50 and over category, so.
Wow, very good. Okay, that's
Thank
it.
you. Councilmember Krupa.
I will apologize to Mike. I did attend the RCA meeting, but I can't for the life of me remember what the special species of the month was. That's how interesting it was. So you'll have to report those next month. RCTC is tomorrow, and one of the things we will be voting to approve is the construction of the truck lanes on Highway 60 going through the Badlands. Everything has been approved. All the lawsuits have been settled. EIR is done and approved, and the contracts have actually gone out to bid, and we'll be approving a final contract that should be starting construction by June of 2019 with completion of July
of 2021, which will be, it should make Highway 60 going through the Badlands a much safer route going both east and west. RTA, the big news there is that during the holiday season, when the kids are all out of school, they're doing again the 25-cent rides for all school kids. All you need is your school ID, and you can ride anywhere in RTA's district, which means going to the beach for 25 cents or going to Disneyland for 25 cents. The library board, exciting things there, and there is a mailbox at the library, and letters to Santa are now being accepted at that mailbox. And also the Winter Readathon begins tomorrow, and it runs through February, so visit the library and find out what that's all about. League of Cities, we had a division executive meeting last night, and the next general meeting will be in January, the second Monday in January, and it will be hosted in Eastvale. They're going to be trying a different type of format as far as no more rubber chicken meals. It's going to be different truck vendors and restaurants and places of libation in the city of Eastvale, and they will be displaying their and giving away their food and drink. SCAG, I have been reappointed by WRCOG to the Transportation Committee of SCAG. Water Master Board meeting, we did have that meeting, and the pumping numbers and assessments are remaining the same as they have been in years past. And I just wanted to bring up, which about a week ago, I got a message from, I can't remember his name, Russell Betts from Desert Hot Springs, and he alerted me to an ad that was on Facebook of a company, and I believe it's Riverside Utility Authority, who is using the names of the cities of Desert Hot Springs and also Hemet in an ad that says the city of Hemet Council has officially endorsed this company as the only one you should use for getting solar and doing all of these things through the PACE program. So RCOG needs to be aware of that, and I'll find the link that Russell Betts sent. And they're getting phone calls from all sorts of people saying, who are these people and why is the city of Desert Hot Springs officially endorsing them as the only vendor for the PACE program? Since there are now 7. Yes. So anyway, wanted to bring that to your attention, and I think that's it. That is it. That was enough.
So I did attend also the Tinsel Tri, the parade, the Ramona Bowl breakfast, the Veterans breakfast, and the concert at the Bowl the other night. That was so cold. And great fundraiser per se, but it was extremely cold. On WRCOG, we had the unfortunate experience to have to say goodbye to Marion Ashley, Supervisor Ashley, as well as Supervisor John Tavaloni, as their retirement, as they go into retirement. And we also lost 8 other members of the COG based on the election. So that was a big blow to us. Some very key individuals who we will miss desperately. I also went to Washington, D.C., to speak to legislators on the PACE program. That was the week after Thanksgiving. We went to Kamala Harris's office, Dianne Feinstein, Calvert's office, Tancano's office. There's 2 more. Anyway, it was a very successful trip and meetings, and they were quite surprised at the success of the PACE program and where it was when they first became involved, where PACE and where it is today, thanks to the efforts of COG addressing issues along the way that certainly the realtors were concerned about. And as I just mentioned, we currently have 7, soon to be 8 financial vendors who fund this program now. So, and WRCOG has done an exceptional job on following up on every single contract that is written and finalized and project completion. So they're real proud of that. They've met at up to $2 billion. They've done up to $2 billion so far with regards to the program, and it gets better every year. So we look forward to that continuing. The Homeless Task Force, on SCAG, I also was reappointed to the Energy Environmental Committee. The Homeless Task Force is next Monday. The Skate Plaza Task Force is on somewhat of a hiatus because the developer that we were working with has gone to another company, so we're trying to figure out how we'll proceed with that and how that will affect our feasibility study. And it's still, the company's still there, just the individual we were working with has gone on. So we'll have better information after the first of the year. Western Community Energy Board is tomorrow. I'm not sure if I can make it or not, but I'll certainly try. That's all I have. And we have Councilmember Meyer.
I had an RCHCA meeting this last, about 2 weeks ago, and we went over some things, but we didn't have a full quorum, so maybe next time we'll have more information. That's all. And Councilmember Percival.
So I did attend the parade. I thought it was very well attended. I think there was more people at the parade this year than there was last year, so that was nice, and the weather was perfect. Didn't rain, it wasn't too hot. I also attended a first annual, hopefully it'll continue, tree lighting that happened on the corner of South Harvard and Florida Avenue, so that was well attended also. I hope to see that continue. That's another great community event, so there was that. As Linda mentioned, she went to the RCA meeting, so at the next council meeting, I'll have an update for 3 species of the month. And that's all I have. I was out of town this weekend, so I wasn't able to attend the...
There was a lot going on.
Yeah.
There was really a lot going on this weekend.
Yeah, so I left on Friday and got back on Monday, and so I missed a lot of stuff here, but we had a good time this weekend.
Next item, ad hoc committee reports, Master Annexation Ad hoc Committee, Percival and Krupa.
Nothing.
And we've already pretty much on the Florida Avenue. We already got an update on that. Anything to add, City Manager? Okay. I would also like to know from council, if you can let me know what commissions you'd like to continue to stay on, what you want to change, what you are interested in changing to, if you are, and just give me that information sometime this week. Future agenda items. None. We have quite a list. And I really want to work with City Manager on getting those public safety, public works committees going, especially the budget committee. Okay? Now we will recess to the Housing Authority. I don't know if I can do that. There we go. Sarah, roll call.
Board Member Brown?
Here.
Board Member Krupa?
Here.
Board Member Meyer?
Here.
Vice Chairperson Wright?
Here.
Chairperson Percival?
Here.
Calls for the reorganization, agency secretary to call for nominations for a chairperson.
So board members, I'd like to call for nominations for the office of chairperson.
Is anybody interested in the chair?
Want to stay on?
Do you want to stay on it, Michael?
Yeah, I nominate Mike.
I'll second that.
Do you want to,
And
are there any other nominations?
Yeah. Hearing none?
Nominations
Please vote.
closed. Please vote.
That passes 5-0.
Mr. Chairperson.
Okay, I'd like to call for a nomination for vice chair.
You want to volunteer, Bonnie?
Pardon?
You want it?
Is there anybody else that wants it?
I nominate Bonnie.
Second.
Okay, please vote. And that passes 5-0.
With that, we have the consent calendar. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes from the July 24th meeting?
Move approval of the consent calendar.
Second.
Please vote.
I didn't hear a second.
I did.
All right, that passes unanimous. Up next, communication from the public. Is there anybody that wishes to address the Housing Authority at this time? Sir, do you have? Seeing none, we will move along. Future agenda items. Any future agenda items for that board? Seeing none, we can adjourn.
Okay. Adjourned. And there's no other closed session, correct? Correct. We adjourn the tonight to Tuesday, January 8th, 7 p.m. With that, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and we're adjourned.